Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm not sure if it's gone. What's up? This is Seth with SethPerler.com. You have probably now finished the school year. So, teachers, congratulations. I hope you have an incredible summer. I know that for teachers, a lot of times people think you're totally free. And I know, because I was a teacher for a long time, that you are not necessarily free this summer, but I hope you have some really great downtime this summer. And parents, it's summer for you guys and obviously for your children. It's summer. And what I wanted to do today was give you 7 quick things. Really, this is more for parents. I just want to give you some ideas in terms of how I conceptualize the summer, ending with number 7, which will be what I believe is the most important of all things. So, number 1, I want to talk a little bit about reading over the summer. Whether or not your child is in elementary school, middle school, or high school, when I think about reading, the number one and most important thing that I think about reading is developing a love for reading. And oftentimes, what happens in school is schools are very focused on developing skills around reading. And oftentimes the love can be lost, and some kids end up resenting reading or not finding value in it. So I think that the number one most important thing is that they love it, that they find value in it, because if they find value in reading, then whatever skills they need as they grow up, they'll be able to develop those skills better and better. If they don't love it, then they're missing out on one of the most beautiful and amazing and transformative things in the world, which is reading information, reading books. People, experts on things, have created books to share ideas, and they're just such important things in human culture. So, um, when I'm talking with families, I'm looking at my notes here, but when I'm talking with families about reading, also, if you have your child reading this summer, whether it's a couple times a week or daily or whatever, make sure it's manageable, but make sure it's relatively consistent. So the more consistency, the better. So if it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday for a half hour or whatever it is, um, or if it's daily or whatever, but the consistency is really important. Like, you just don't want to just have like 1 week where you're reading a lot. You want it spread throughout the summer, because you're developing a long-term skill, long-term love and appreciation for reading. So I don't really care what they read, just as long as they're reading. And I do think it's important to read over the summer, and again, for fun. But there are 2 things in particular I want to talk about. One is, if your child is reading a novel, a lot of times parents will say, okay, or teachers will say, okay, you got to read for 10 minutes tonight, or 20 minutes, or 30 minutes, or whatever. You can say that, but I think what's more important is to have an amount of reading. Meaning, if you've read 20 minutes and you're in the middle of a chapter, that's a horrible place to stop. So I'd much rather see a child read 1 chapter or 3 chapters or something like that. And I'd actually much rather, if they're not going to read daily, I'd much rather them read every other day or every few days, but read multiple chapters. Because reading 1 chapter a day you're not learning to dive into a book. And that's what I want for them, is to learn how to dive into a book, how to learn to really enjoy it. If they're doing it just to do it, I want them to, hopefully you're trying to not make that happen. You want them to be enjoying it. Second thing I want to mention is talk about it. So after they're done reading, ask them what they read. You can go character setting, plot, theme, point of view, elements of literature. You can talk about main ideas. You can talk about whatever. But talk about it. What were you reading about? Tell me about it. Have a fun conversation about it. Okay, now writing, same thing. I think the most important thing is to love writing. You want to develop a love for writing. And so much of school is around, how do you do specific things related to writing? Well, during the summer, I want them to really be free and be able to write creatively and have a lot of free writes. But you have some kids who are not self-starters when it comes to writing, and some who are. So that's another thing to contemplate. If they are not self-starters with writing, you're going to have to help them with prompts or discussing it or whatever. And it depends on the age too. Helping a senior in high school versus a 4th grader with this is going to look very different. But ultimately, you want them to be writing free. Using timers for writing is great. Now, reading is different because you have the chapters, but writing, using a timer and saying, all right, we're going to write for 15 minutes today, just free write, that's really a good time to do that. You can also do pages with writing. There's something called morning pages. It's from this great book, and I've done morning pages before where I write 3 pages a day every morning, but whatever. Again, it's about enjoyment. Math. Now, math, I also want them to love, but math is different in that you're doing it more like you're doing push-ups. You're doing it more to build skills as opposed to building the love. Obviously, you want to build the love, and if they already like math, that's great, but you're really looking for skills. And when you're doing summer stuff, what I want to tell you, parents, is that, in my opinion, you don't have to do a lot. Literally, 3 problems every 3 days a week, 3 problems a day is fine. What I'm looking for when I'm working with kids in this capacity with math is I'm looking for, quote, perfection. And I don't like the word perfection, but in this case, I use it very specifically because when they're working on math, I want them to work on it as perfectly as possible. During the summer, I want them doing push-ups. I want them keeping the skills up. Math is an area where you lose skills very quickly. It's different than reading and writing in that way. So keeping strong in math during the summer is very helpful. But one of the main things I want them to do is be checking their work. So the perfection comes in really taking your time, doing 3 problems, but high quality, having them self-check before you're going to check, having them say, are you sure this is right? Are you sure? Are you sure? How do you know? And helping them learn the self-reflection in math. Because what happens in middle and high school with a lot of these kids is they don't want to show their work. And they can do that for a point, and they can do that with certain types of math, but then it gets so complex that they have to show their work. I want them showing that work during the summer. I want them taking their time. I don't want it to be hard. I want it to be doable, but I really want to focus on the quality during the summer generally. And let's see. And I want them to be self-checking. All right. Other subjects. I'm not too concerned about other subjects, generally speaking, unless there's a specific reason that they should be practicing another subject. I'm not too concerned about that. I really want them to have fun during the summer. I want them to dive into enrichment activities, so things that are going to enrich them, things that are going to help them launch a great future. Number 5, immersion. Summer is a great time for them to get immersed in something, for day-long programs, week-long programs, multiple week camps, things like that. So getting immersed in something where they're learning and having fun is great. Exploration. So not necessarily getting immersed, but being exposed to multiple things, exploring a lot of different things during the summer. It's a great time for exploration. Use your summertime wisely, because there's so much that you can do with it to help them launch a great future. And then finally, number 7, the most important thing, in my opinion, that you want to do with your child during the summer is have quality time with them. Life is short. Their childhood is short. It goes by so fast in the blink of an eye. Summer is going to be gone before you know it. So the most important thing, in my opinion, is that whatever you do, whether you do any of the other stuff that I told you about, that you make sure that you carve out, that you plan, that you really get the fun, connected, quality time that you want, because the most important thing in your life is your relationship with your children and yourself and your partner and your family and friends and stuff. But that relationship with your child is the most important thing. So really take time to have quality time with your child. Do not let summer go by like that. Like, make sure that you're planning it in, that you've really got, that you can really imagine how much quality time you want to spend with them and really make these things happen. So with that, that's all I have. I hope you're doing great. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody, put a comment below, and I will see you next Sunday at SethPerler.com. If you haven't subscribed to my site, go ahead and check out SethPerler.com, and take care.